So hi everyone, I'm again with the lovely Louise Field from Adore Your Pelvic Floor, and following on from our last video, we are now going to be talking about rehab and recovery postnatally after you've had a prolapse operation or surgery, and also hysterectomy. So Louise, fire away, tell me about what's the best kind of things that women need to be doing, what do they need to be focusing on in order to recover. Let's start with postnatal first, to recover after having a baby, to make sure that their pelvic floor springs back, if you like, into how it needs to.
Okay, I think one of the best things we've mentioned in previous videos, posture. So please look back on that video. What's the title of that video, Sarah, so people know where to look back onto?
Well, the first one will be pelvic health for women from postnatal to menopause.
Okay, so look at the pelvic health video where we do discuss posture, because if the posture is sitting well, then the pelvic floor will be really happy. So that is actually really important with regards to post-birth and any other gynecological surgery. The second thing, though, would be breath work, because we know that the pelvic floor works with our breath. So we breathe 20,000 times a day, just normally, without exercise. And literally, I've got one of my, let me go, I'm just going underneath my desk and I'll pull this out. So if we look at this sphere here and we just consider that this sphere is an example, a demonstration of our rib cage and our diaphragm, our deep abdominals, and then our lower back muscles are sitting down behind here, and then underneath and within our pelvis we've got our pelvic floor muscles. Every time you breathe, there is a reaction to all of those areas. There's a reaction to your rib cage and your diaphragm, your multifidus in your lower back, your deep abdominal muscles, and then also your pelvic floor. So this is going on without us realizing all day long. So if you are looking at postnatal recovery for your pelvic floor and your abdominals, likewise post-hysterectomy or prolapse surgery, any other gynecological surgery, to begin with, breath work is really good. In fact, I'm going to get you to try it now, Sarah.
Okay.
If you were to take, you can't get a good inhale unless you've expelled any breath you've got. So you're going to sort of like breathe out any spare breath you've got. Bring your hands to your rib cage either side. Okay. When you're ready, take the deepest breath low from your nose. So don't go up your nose, breathe low into your nose, into your hands, and notice that your whole rib cage, through the side of your rib cage, is moving, but also it'll be through the front and the back of your rib cage. So what I would like you to do is to expel any excess breath, breathe in deep as you can. So when you're ready, and hold that breath. Oh, okay. Now I want you to exhale long and slow and keep on going, 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 keep on going. And notice that your abdominals are coming together and your deep abdominals are coming together, and also your pelvic floor will also react. And then when you do your inhale, go for your inhale again, you'll notice that rib cage will move out, your abdominals will lengthen, and your pelvic floor will also lengthen. On the exhale, if you keep on going, if you keep on going, if you keep on going, you're going to feel that core natural knitting together reaction, which is really, really handy for all postnatal surgery, gynecological rehab.
And it's quite interesting because you have to exhale quite a lot before you feel that with your abdominals and then your pelvic floor, don't you, actually?
Yeah. Now, that is one of the best rehabs go-tos that you can do. It's great at any stage. You can do it immediately, postnatally and post-surgery, because the abdominals and the connection of the abdominals to the pelvic floor are phenomenal. And it is actually working the two together that's going to give you the best results. So if we think that the deep abdominals sit here, and so if I turn the pelvis under, they're connecting to your pelvic floor group, and actually they do co-contract. So when I had my gynecological surgery, and other women that have had other different gynecological surgeries, They were like, oh my word, my deep abdominals, they just keep flaring out. I can't contract my deep abdominals. They're not working in tune with my breath and my pelvic floor. It's really hard you have to kind of rehab them back in to connection because of inflammation, because of the surgery, incision, or whatever that's gone on there. The co-contraction, the relation of the two areas, yeah, breath work is your first go-to. You can't go wrong. It will aid healing as well, promote circulation. It will still give you the length that we need, but it will give you the contraction that you need.
And calm the nervous system, so it'll help you to feel nice and calm and relaxed as well, won't it? It's just like a win-win. So something that is so simple and so easy and ready available is one of the most effective rehab tools.
100%. The other thing though is, again, that whole thing of do not do too much too soon, because postnatally, if you've got other children as well, or any other logistics, if you're thinking about it, if you think of a buggy, and we fold that buggy down and we have to lift that buggy and internally rotate to put it into the boot of the car. Or with the baby, they're in the car seat and we lift up the car seat with the weight of the baby, and the weight of that baby is getting heavier every week, and then you're internally rotating or externally rotating to carry that car seat again out of the car. You're talking a big heavy load there. If I was to say, right, okay, Sarah, I want you to pick up that 10-pound dumbbell over there, your first thought would be 10 pound, because you're used to lifting maybe your 4K or your 5K, not 10 pound in one dumbbell, but actually that baby's going to be 10 pound maybe from beginning, let alone the weight of the car seat and adding on the subsequent weights. So there is heavy load going on. So first of all, it's looking at the best way, and again, a postnatal trainer can help you on that, because that takes more time to explain how to lift. But you need to learn how to deadlift. You know, if you're getting your baby out of the cot, you're doing a deadlift effectively. If you're getting your baby out of the cot in the night to feed them, you're going to be tired, and you're going to be doing it with a tired body and mindset rather than in a fitness regime mindset. So actually just learning how you can effectively hold baby or lift with allowing the abdominals to recruit effectively with the technique. And again, we covered this briefly on the pelvic health video. Again, it's down to technique. Get some good techniques. Get somebody to teach you those techniques so that you are supporting your abdominal and your backs as well as your pelvic floors. So
that's really important to with after having a baby, to already know that before you've had your baby. So that comes as part of your pregnancy care, isn't it? And building your knowledge for after you've had your baby. So as soon as you've had your baby, you are knowing and prepared how to carry that baby correctly so that you're not doing any damage to yourself in any way.
Yeah, to best promote support for yourself and health for yourself. Yeah, and you know what? We're all going to carry our kids on one hip. We're all going to do that. And in fact, actually, a really good exercise is actually holding baby in front, close to your body. Shoulders are drawn down towards the whole scapular area, standing squarely on your feet, and keep breathing. You get tired within 1 minute, you know it. Your arms are working, your back is working, your abs are working, your pelvic floor will be enjoying it as well. So you could actually just incorporate that as part of an exercise where, we are going to do the whole hip thing, we are going to do lots of things, but actually learning how to do, incorporate good techniques is going to be really supportive. Likewise, post-gynecological surgery, any surgery, it's like doing too much too soon, because you kind of want to get back to normal. You may have been feeling rather ill with the symptoms prior to surgery, and suddenly you feel really great, and now you want to get on with all the things that you haven't been able to do. You want to get back to a fitness regime. You go into a gym, you're like, yeah, I want to build up my core, and then you've got a trainer that doesn't actually know, it's not in their standard qualifications about pelvic floor. Usually it's very few, and likewise even within the NHS. So I train a lot of NHS midwives and doctors and osteopaths and MSK physios, because it's not part of their standard training. And so actually it's, where was I going? Yes, learn. If you go into the gym and say, I want to build up my core, if your trainer hasn't had specific training, they're like, right, okay, let's lift this and let's do this and let's do that. And it's actually building it up step by step and layering your duration, your technique, and then of course adding on weight with it. And so it's a layering, and you I think that I have to kind of sort of like say to nearly 95% of the ladies that I work with, hold back a little bit longer. We're going to do this first. And then it's when I do, they have to then do what I'm asking. They go, that's quite hard, isn't it? It's like, yeah, because you've got the technique right. And if you get your foundation strong, because the pelvic floor is connected to the abdominals, any building, any structure, you need the good foundations. If you work from your foundations, then the rest of the abdominals will follow suit. If we're leaving out the foundation when you're lifting and etc., then basically this will all be working because it can do, but it won't be working as effectively as you would like it to. It might be satisfactory, but actually work from the foundation, low and inside, and then the rest of the abdominals will follow suit perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's again about a balance of muscles. It's the balance of the obliques to the rectus abdominis to the transverse abdominals and your pelvic floor muscles. And so rehab is a strategic affair on an individual programmable, which isn't a word, I've just made that one up, programmable process.
And in regards to the recovery, so after you've had prolapse surgery, the recovery, how long would you say the recovery time is in regards to you resting and then gradually building in just things like you saying earlier about things like hoovering, picking up the washing basket, you know, which to most women, they're not even going to be really thinking about because they just think, oh, they're just normal things. They're not, it's not that heavy, blah, blah, blah. But the impact that has on the pelvic floor, excuse me, is still quite significant. So, and how would you say the recovery of that process is? I know everyone's going to be slightly different, but on average.
Yeah, and this is really where, again, that crossover from having maybe abdominal surgery for C-section crosses over into maybe other gynecological things. Because when you've had a C-section, you can't drive for a little while, and you've got very strong sort of like post recovery recovery recommendations, and you'll have very strong recovery recommendations on any other gynecological surgery, even keyhole surgery, and I always add on a little bit more than what they say. I know we all heal differently, and I think it's really worth taking on board that, because recovery can be anything between 6 and 12 weeks depending on what you've had. So you'll be given that window of what your recovery on duration is. And recovery is very different from rehab. So within recovery, there will be the recommendation of what you can lift or what you can't lift. There will be recommendations on certain back stretches or mobility stretches, because again, you've got to keep circulation going. So if you're lying on your back, you're taking your knees one side and one side, doing a small bridge. You need your bed rest exercises. Again, that will help promote healing. And then you've got that stage where you are active, but you're not allowed to lift certain things, or you might not be allowed to drive, and it'll be building up your walking for a duration of time. So all of those are in recovery time, and that will be given to you as a stipulation, either verbally or with a piece of paper with some directions.
And that is sort of on average 6 to 12 weeks, depending
on what you've had done.
And the same for hysterectomy.
Yeah, exactly the same. I think the where the problem comes in is that you're feeling okay, and anybody that's had that surgery will probably recognize this. It'll resonate, where then you get your day, you feel great, and you catch up on the things that you haven't been able to get done, or you're out walking for a bit longer than what you anticipated, and you can start to feel like that heaviness, that dragging feeling. Your body's starting to talk to you, and you think, oh, I've overdone it a little bit. You're going to get caught out. Don't beat yourself up about it, but do listen and take note of what it was and how long you went for, and know that you still got to actually build up to that duration, and take that rest. Take that rest afterwards, you know, go by what your body is telling you. And I noticed that for me, post-surgery, so I had pelvic organ prolapse surgery, I just had lots of stitching in my fascia, many stitches in the fascia. So when my fascia had previously torn and my organs weren't being as supported previously, that had been mended. But again, my deep abdominals were really struggling to better co-contract with my pelvic floor. And so even on the most simplest of Pilates step 1 level of exercises, I could see that my abdominals were not able to cope with the load. And so actually it's a real patience and play with, and it's regular, and it's for short periods of time, and it's layering and layering so that you can keep the technique. So understand what your technique was and where you want to get to, and work on the technique. We're not talking about load. Work on the technique and keep that technique spot on to then gradually add the load. And just don't go too fast too soon, because we all want to get to that finishing line. You're going to get to that finishing line much better by adding that load slowly, week by week, using the breath work, keeping length, flexibility, posture, strength all over, and again, work with a trainer that is trained in it, because again, otherwise you're going to be probably advised to do more than what you're ready for.
Yeah.
And if you are doing something, what that reaction is during the exercise or after the exercise, go by that reaction to how you decide that you need to tail it back a bit, or you can up it up a bit.
And you have a team of coaches, don't you, across the country,
Yeah.
don't you, that have all trained in your program, so that anybody postnatally, after any kind of gynecological operation or surgery, you know, including prolapse and hysterectomy, you know, the best rehab and recovery is going to be working with somebody like you, isn't it, or one of your coaches, so that you are not getting exactly the right treatment and information to make sure that as you then progress and move forward and get older, then things don't come back to bite you, because you know, and then you're back at square one. And because I have heard as well with things like prolapse, that some women end up, the operation ends up failing within 3 years. Was that right? Did you say, what was the percentage that you said earlier?
50.
That's huge, isn't it? 50% of women that have prolapse surgery, it does fail within 3 years. Why do you think that is? Do you think that is because they're not given the right information on recovery and rehab?
So they get given the right information about recovery, but rehab is missed out.
Right.
And so say a lady's had pelvic organ surgery, repair, there'll be the recovery period, and say 12 weeks later they'll get the follow-up appointment, all is good, fantastic, to then go straight back to normal activity. So that could be in your job role, that could be around the house, it could be in your fitness. There's not, when you've had prolapse recovery, you're advised not to lift a kettle, not to put your washing on the line, and then you have your follow-up and they say you can go back to normal. So there's no in between lifting up the kettle and then doing your fitness, or going back to your job role of lifting boxes or lifting a person, or anything, as well as your fitness. You need that progression. So that is one thing. And then also, if you've got other habits where, like with your bathroom habits or your constipation is still continuing, they're not going to be conducive for good pelvic floor health. And actually changing your bathroom habits, helping constipation, looking at your posture, looking at your breath, all of those things will then give you. So I had my surgery 11 years ago, and so I TLC my pelvic floor with regards to my fitness. I ensure that I've got the flexibility, I ensure that I've got the tone around my outside of the pelvis, I ensure that all of that's in place. Yes, I use my feet on the stool when I pass my bowels, because that's going to be more effective, less straining. If you can then bring in those new practices, then that surgery is going to withhold much better and longer. So that,
it's like you said earlier to me about, you know, if you go in for knee surgery or hip surgery, you will always see a physio when you're ready to make sure that you heal and recover best, don't you? But with this kind of surgery, we don't get that.
No. And if I had knee surgery, I wouldn't just go climbing up Mount Snowdon if I've waited my 6 weeks of recovery and then go straight up Mount Snowdon. I'd be building it up naturally. I'd be
Yeah,
thinking, right, I need to do some leg presses, I need to do some squats, I need to walk a normal length, I need to do a little bit of uphill. I wouldn't just go straight up Mount Snowdon as my
yeah,
first workout. So yeah, it's that progressive exercise. And just keep listening to the body is really important because it gives you the best position
yeah,
for best choices thereafter,
yeah.
and less chance of other issues coming up maybe as well. If you've had a
So,
hysterectomy, sorry, but yeah, if you've had a hysterectomy, the way with the uterus and the bladder and bowel, they're all tightly connected with connective tissue and everything. If you take off one structure, then there's less there to hold everything in place. So there is a small percentage of 15% of a higher chance of pelvic organ prolapse if you've had hysterectomy. It's
right.
very rare when you have a hysterectomy that you get told things such as that, and that's fair enough. But I think being pre-warned that actually if you've had a hysterectomy, you really want to have that rehab. You really want to be in tune with your pelvic floor, of those muscles to be in good balance with your core unit and the pelvis on the outside as well as the muscles on the inside, to then limit that percentage, and then you're in the best place position to prevent or minimize the chance of pelvic organ prolapse as well. So it's again forewarned. You can put things in place. If you're not told, then you don't know any different. And so yeah, I think that's
Exactly. No, so that is amazing. Thank you so much. So basically, we're looking at when it comes to recovery and rehab after having a baby, after having any gynecological surgery, like whether it's prolapse or hysterectomy, anything like that at all, then we are wanting to make sure we recover for the good amount of time, which means being incredibly patient, which we are, I know, find that many women find it very challenging, but it's literally taking full advantage of having some time to put your feet up and rest, because it won't be long and you won't be able to do that again. So just be patient with recovery, and that can take around 6 to 12 weeks depending on the woman. And then after that, it's building in some proper good rehab to make sure that your whatever the surgery you've had done continues to work, and that you recover and get back to how you want to get back to with your strength, etc., etc. And that can be done by working with somebody like you, Louise, or one of your fully trained pelvic health coaches.
yeah,
Who
and
gives the
also
right information.
women's health physios, of course, they are great for their postnatal checks. They're also great if you want reassurance post-surgery. And post-surgery, I had a lady the other day that was doing the Dory Floor program, and she came on and she'd had surgery quite recently, and it was the tears, yeah. And I totally understand it, because when I had my surgery, I had questions. I kept thinking, is it okay? Is this normal? This doesn't feel what I thought it would feel. And so all of those kind of questions is something that I think are really valid, so valid. So do ask your consultant any questions that you get, or likewise somebody like myself. So like with this particular lady, and I remember having the same question, was that where I had my repair, say that's the vaginal area, then I could still see a mass sitting there. So it wasn't on the outside, it was sitting there. But what I didn't realise was that's just where they've sutured you all up and knitted everything together. But me, I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. It's, it's not looking how I thought. Is that my organs? Is it? And that I asked the question, and then I got it answered. So no question is a silly question.
Yeah.
And I questioned myself with regards to how much load I could take for a long while. It took me 18 months to really feel confident post-surgery on what I was able to do. And some women, it could even be longer than that. So don't get cross with yourself when you are feeling like, yeah, I'm still not feeling as confident as I'd like to with regards to preventing stress incontinence. And in fact, some women will have their prolapse surgery repair and then start to experience stress incontinence when they didn't before. And they go like, why? And that could be because actually the alarms of everything's been put back up, and actually that problem was there before, but there was sort of like, there was
It was
the
in a way.
position, was actually helping prevent the actual stress incontinence, but you had other symptoms. So many factors come involved. There's
Yeah.
the emotional level. Oh my gosh, the emotional level can be huge. You know, having intimate relations for the first time after surgery, and when you've got all these things going on, there's the physical, there's the healing, there's getting to where you want to get, there's the emotional side of it. It is huge, and you don't have to just keep it all inside and worry. There's people like me that love talking about it every single day, because
There's two questions I want to ask you. Is one, can you recommend any specific, where did you find support other than, you know, asking consultant questions, things like that? Where did you find you got the most support from? Was there any particular groups online or anything else available?
okay, yeah, and that's a really good question, because I was very much on my own, and so many women will be on their own. But women are the best communicators. And actually, other women that have had surgery, and you won't necessarily advertise you've had surgery, you know, people don't generally advertise it. They'll say, I'm having a little op done, and that's kind of the beginning, the end of the conversation. But if you do find, there was a lady the other day, again, that I was working with, and she said it was great because I was in the park, and I thought I was the only one, and I just mentioned it to this other mum, and she went, oh yeah, that's me too. And then the other one on the other side, yeah, me too. All three of them were then talking. I think actually talking with other women is one of the best. And some of those women will say, I didn't even know about that. And it's like, well, now they do, because you've mentioned it to them. So you are then evangelizing knowledge to other women, because if we don't talk about things, if we don't learn about things, then for one, then that is not going to be empowering. But secondly, there will be Facebook groups out there. I think it's a matter of actually just looking. With the Adore Your Pelvic Floor, we've got a Facebook community, but you have to have done a program that's a continued support system. But there are other Facebook groups out there. Yeah, mention it on your menopause Facebook groups, or mention, or that you will see Facebook groups that are pessaries and pelvic organ prolapse. You will see support groups for bowel issues and things. But remember also, then you're going to get lots of different things coming in.
Exactly, that's the other issue.
Sometimes it can be
contradictions, contradictory information, maybe even the wrong information. So
that's
that's
very pessimistic, and I'm not about being
that's very true.
optimistic. So again, I think that again, post-surgery, it's about getting yourself back to full fitness, so that you have got strong glutes, you've got good back and ab muscles. It's about all muscles. It goes back to basics, being in balance. So then you can then do everything that you want to do. But don't just keep quiet. Specialist pelvic health physios, obviously people like myself, people that have done the training in it, do your research around, look at websites, and if you are happy with that website, you think, I quite like you, I like the way you're wording things, you know, you can then start that conversation and see if you connect with that trainer, connect with that individual that is you're going to be working with or taking advice from. You've got to connect with your surgeon. You've got to connect with anybody that's giving you any advice, because if you don't connect, then you're going to feel uneasy about it in the first place. And you know, and work with people that work from evidence-based, you know. It's I think that's really
very,
really
very, very good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that you feel we need to cover in regards to that?
Yeah, fascia release.
Yes, I was going to say actually, because people are probably thinking, what is fascia? They probably really understand. So let's explain what fascia is quickly.
So fascia envelopes all our organs, our muscles. It's throughout the whole of the body, from our toes to our brain. And again, it's all moving.
It's like a webbing, isn't it? It's like a very thin, it's connective tissue, almost like a web, a spider's web that covers everything about it within us, and it can become very tight and restricted in certain areas, can't it? Place restriction on the soft tissue that it's encasing.
And you can do fascia release with lots of fancy little gimmicks and things as such. And you can see people that can work for fascia release. That can be internal vaginal, that could be on your lower back, it could be anywhere within your body. You can have some fascia release. But there's simple things like, if you just sit where you are right now, Sarah, and very slowly rotate around the base of your pelvis. So you're literally going to just very slowly just go around. Now you can slow it down to like micro slow. You can do it where you're halfway around and oh, that feels a little bit, I can feel that, like a massage would be. Oh, just stay there, just stay there, just stay there, relax. Oh, that feeling kind of dissipates. And then, I can feel it there. And you can just sit there, breathe, relax, or you may just go round and it just feels nice. Side to side on each of the sit bones is good. I've got one of my clients the other day, we were talking of a similar thing. I've got this coaster here, just sitting on that coaster in my chair while I'm working at the laptop is fantastic, because it just sits the pelvis differently and it's movable and it works lovely. So even fascia release can be on the simplest method, just that, which is really good.
And actually that does also have a real calming effect. That really does. Just slowly around. You know, I have a bit of a morning routine where I just move very, very slowly, and I really kind of stretch around with my arms up high and I lower down, and that does exactly that. It helps to just release everything off for my day, and it makes me feel wonderful. So it's just releasing any restrictions, isn't it? So even fascia release is good.
Other tools you can use is like a hand towel and roll it so that the hand towel is sort of like that kind of you know, it's nice and tight. And that could just literally, you could lie down with your knees bent and literally place it underneath your back here, just sit, and then you can do micro movements side to side, roll around on it. But then you could use the towel here, you could use the towel here, you could use the towel here. So it could go all the way up your spine. You can do the same on the side of your hips, you know. So like I said, there's many gizmos out there. There's specialists out there that work with fascia as well. But on a nice simple aspect, you can do internal fascia release yourself. You can, you know, but it's best to be guided initially. For me, if that was me and I knew that I needed some internal release, then seeing a specialist pelvic health physio can tell you exactly the point and what you need, and ways that you can do it, and they can teach you how to do it for yourself at home. But there's other things that you can use and try yourself, and it's when you can feel like, oh, that's like a bit knotty, a bit uncomfortable, and you just sit there, and then after a period of time, that's gone. And that's really good for helping old scar tissue and tightness that's going on. So I think
amazing. Thank you so much for all that. So valuable, you know, it's all invaluable information that all women need to know from such a young age, so that we can be prepared, you know, as we age. But like you say, if we're not told about this, if we're not taught about this as we go through each stage of our lives, as in, you know, as soon as we get pregnant, we have our babies, etc., as we get older, then how are we going to know? Because we just believe what we're told within GP, you know, GPs or in our hospitals, but they don't give us all the information. So thank you so much, Louise, for sharing that. And again, once again, I'll share all your links so that if you are experiencing any issues from what we've been talking about today, then please get in touch with Louise for some specialist advice.
My pleasure, darling. Lots of love and nice.
And to you too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, darling.